Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry upper deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, the Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. And welcome into episode 10 of the mmjhl podcast, ladies and gentlemen. I'm your host, Graham, the G-Show Forsyth. This podcast is presented by, as always, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Make Canada Fasteners and Tools, Terrico, as well as goaltenders. This episode coming to you a day later than it was supposed to come out. And the reason being, well, I had to digest what was quite a scene in the third period last night between the St. Vital Junior Victorias and the Fort Garry Twins. I was debating on cutting highlights or not for this one, showing the drama, but decided not to. I'm just going to be talking about this to start off the episode. But before we get into that, if you're new here and you want to stay up to date with when we release mmjhl content, be sure to check out our website at gshow.ca. We're on social media, on Instagram as well as X, on Facebook too. We also post on TikTok. But yeah, if you subscribe and turn on notifications here, you won't miss any future uploads of this podcast, as well as any game day live streams that we do, as we'll be doing one here coming up tonight live from Southdale Arena. But before we get into all of that, in terms of what's on tap for tonight, as well as who's going to be joining me on this episode, as you may have seen in the intro screen. But yeah, this is how last week in the mmjhl went. For the Fort Garry Twins, they rattled off 3 straight wins in a row. For the Vics, going 2-1 last weekend on their schedule, losing to the Charleswood Hawks 4-1 on that Sunday matchup. And as for the standings, last night Fort Garry took on the St. Vital Junior Victorias and was able to extend their win streak to 4. St. Vital now losers of their last 2 games. And in terms of how that game went last night, well, it was the Fort Garry Twins who ended up winning it by a score of 5-0. We'll get to the third period penalties here in just a moment, because this was one of the craziest parts of the game. Kind of will be a segue in terms of what we'll be talking about, which is this third period. But the number of penalties taken from both sides, too many to count right now, to be honest with you. There were some fights that ended up happening, a double minor butt ending that was called on Connor Mitchell, which, to be honest with you, one of the dirtiest plays I've seen in a while in hockey. Him using the knob of his stick to spear star player for the Fort Garry Twins in Dean Gorchinski. But Dean and his team would end up getting the last laugh, as he'd have a few goals on the night. This Twins team winning 5-0. But you got to address the fight that ended up happening as well, as Connor Mitchell ended up being pounded in the head really by Tazio Cianfloni from this Fort Garry Twins team. And for Tazio, I'm not sure if it was, him just losing his balance from, just kind of being a bit woozy out there, a bit lightheaded after the fight. I'm not sure if it was his leg that was the problem with him wobbling the way he did and off balance. It was a scary sight to see in the moment. I might have blew it out of proportion with saying that it looked like he lost all motor skills. I don't know if that's the case or not. I certainly hope that that's not the case and that Tazio is going to be fine long term. But if it's a leg injury that he suffered as well, hoping him a speedy recovery and hoping, honestly, if it just ended up being in the spur of the moment and nothing that huge that's going to keep him out of the lineup, hoping to see number 4 back in the lineup soon here for the Twins. But yeah, Connor Mitchell had it handed to him in that fight. And ever since that moment when he, used the knob of his stick to catch Gorchinski in the private parts, the ball sack, apologies for the language there, but just being blunt, that's where he ends up hitting him, right? And if you're the Fort Garry Twins and you see that happen to your star player, yeah, no kidding, you're going to get a type of response like that. And yeah, Tazio Cianflone looked a bit worse for wear afterwards after that fight, but stood up for his teammate and defended that honor of Dean Gorchinski. And yeah, I said it on the broadcast, but it comes with a price. I didn't say this specifically, but I'll say it now. It comes with a price, playing the type of game that Connor Mitchell plays, playing on the line, doing something stupid yesterday and paying for it by getting his butt handed to him in the fight. I guess was poetic justice in a way for this Fort Garry Twins squad. But yeah, taking a look at the standings once again here. As Fort Garry moves into third place, they're 5 points back now of the first place Transcona Railer Express, as Transcona is going to be in action tonight in the mmjhl. As we take a look at the rest of this week's schedule, 4 games going to be played on Friday night. So tonight we'll have this game, the St. Boniface Riels between the Transcona Railer Express on our network live tonight. We'll also be live at St. Boniface in their arena at Southdale Community Center for their Sunday tilt coming up against the St. James Junior Canucks, as 4 games are going to be played on that Sunday to conclude this week's action in the mmjhl. And one of the players in the mmjhl that ended up having a fantastic rookie month for himself in terms of start to his rookie season was Sage Delaronde, the guest joining today's edition of the mmjhl podcast, as Sage not only took home October's Rookie of the Month in the mmjhl, but also took home Goaltender of the Month in the league. He's currently 8-0-1 on the season. I had a chance to ask Sage about what it's been like, coming into this league and playing for this Transcona Railer Express team. We touch on the player recognition that he got as well, with winning those awards, Rookie and Goaltender of the Month, and much more here on the mmjhl podcast here on gshow Productions on gshow.ca. Sage Delaronde, number 29, rookie goaltender for the Transcona Railer Express, joining the show next. Number 29 of the Transcona Railer Express, goaltender and rookie of the month for the month of October in the mmjhl, in Sage Delaronde, joining this edition of the mmjhl podcast. Sage, you're off to quite the start in your mmjhl career. You got 8 wins. Only one of those has ended up being a tie. Talk about what it's been like coming in, having as much success as you've had.
Well, tryouts have been pretty rough for me. So until I got into the preseason games, I've been dominating, letting in 0 goals there, and then the coaches really loved it. And then yeah, just starting to feel like myself coming into these games now, feeling more comfortable.
Yeah, and of course, you're not alone as being the only rookie in this year's goaltending tandem. Also, Logan Maroney playing on this squad. He has a perfect record himself. Talk about what it's been like, not only getting to play with another rookie, kind of being able to relate with being the same age in this league, but also being to compete with a guy like Logan day in and day out.
I mean, yeah, off the ice we're pretty good buddies, and then on the ice we're just always competing for that top spot, and then yeah, just always competition like that. So
Let's go back to the tryout process. Of course, like you talked about, didn't really feel yourself until those exhibition games. But how did it come to be for you to end up in Transcona's camp and end up making the squad?
I mean, it felt pretty amazing. I've been watching this team since I was about 7 or 8 years old. Just really wanted to play for the team, and then I got the nod into the office, and then Gage just said, "Hey, you have a pretty good spot on this team. We like the way you play." So yeah, I just felt pretty hyped about that.
And yeah, I mean, since then, since being a full-time member of this team has benefited greatly from it. Before we get into anything else, though, I mean, mentioned it at the start, being named goaltender and rookie of the month for October. A lot of generous words said about you, and rightfully so, in the league's write-up. But what's that like? All your hard work to start off this season, paying off with that recognition.
I mean, honestly, I wasn't expecting it. I was just playing the way I was playing, and yeah, it's pretty much an honor.
Yeah, and I guess describe what type of goaltender Sage Delaronde is out there. Of course, some goaltenders may have different styles. How would you describe yourself out there as a goaltender in the crease?
I'd say I'm a pretty big goalie, but I could move pretty good laterally, and yeah, it's pretty quick guy.
Yeah, and we've seen that on display so far in the games we've been able to call, for this team on the network this season. Not only are you a part of the best goaltending tandem in the league so far this year, but a part of the best team in the league so far is this Railer Express team, 14-1-3. What's that been like? Not only coming into a situation and thriving, but also being able to do it surrounded by such talent.
Wasn't really expecting to be around the top first place, so yeah, it's pretty much an honor. But yeah, our guys are doing pretty good. We like the bond, and yeah.
And of course, you had a chance to be around this group a bit last year, Ep.10 in some games. A lot of returning faces. This group didn't lose much. Do you feel like, having those returning guys, having that consistency that way, maybe also playing a huge part in how this team's been able to get rolling so early on?
I mean, yeah, the chemistry is pretty good. All the boys are looking pretty good on the ice, looking pretty good offensively and defensively. So yeah.
For this team, obviously the talent's been there, and obviously this team has been able to rise to first place. But how huge has it been knowing that not only can this team go out and shut out teams, but also being able to win in some barn burners and some closer games, also beating top contenders? Has that given this group even more confidence, given the way this team has been operating so far this year?
I mean, yeah, after a big win like against the Hawks twice about now, we're always pretty hyped about that. But in practices, we like to stay focused for like any team, any game, and we just want to stay at the top of the leaderboard.
Now, I gotta ask you about this, right? Because obviously the game preparation important in everything players do, especially goaltenders. Can you let us in on how Sage Delaronde prepares himself on a game to game basis?
So basically, so for a home game, guys usually leave their gear there. I bring it home, and I basically smudge my gear with called Sage, and it's called Sweetgrass. So I
Yeah.
do that before every game. I do it on my like helmet, glove, blocker. It just cleanses it, and it just basically brings good energy.
I love that. I love that. And yeah, I mean, heard of that before. Actually, we ended up doing that on a field trip back in grade eight, doing a smudge. And yeah, obviously it's been working out for you, Sage, given the start you've had this season. Given this year's squad and how things have been rolling, given that this team has been able to get off to such a huge start, there's still lots of season to be played. So this group, how are you boys kind of internalizing things and handling things and not trying to look too far ahead?
Well, we always just like to focus on our next opponent. So this Friday we're facing the Reals, and yeah, it's a pretty big game. So all the boys are pretty hyped and ready to go.
Yeah, and we're hyped for that one as well. We're gonna have it on the network. This team has been able to face off against the Real so far this season. Taking a look at the head-to-head so far as we pull it up on this website. This team meeting twice, and they got you on the opening night, of course, getting your revenge back on the 27th. The expectations, I'm sure, for you boys, this is going to be another tough battle against a very good Real squad.
Oh yeah, so the home opener or the first game, that was me. That was Josh Rock. So
Right.
and
Yeah.
then, but yeah, the boys are ready to go, ready to fire.
Yeah, and I guess for yourself, going up against a team that puts up as many shots as this Real's team does and tries to, create as much movement as they can on goaltenders with quick passes in the offensive zone. How are you looking to, I guess, come in and game plan to be your best for this game against the Reals?
I mean, all of our guys probably just gonna focus on defense. They're a high offense team, and yeah, just every play little by little, freeze the puck here and there, just calm down the entire ice. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean this team going up against the Reals coming up this Friday, and then on Sunday, this team going to be back at home to take on the Stonewall Jets, a team that a bit lower down in the standings, but every team has been pretty close overall in the standings this year. The expectations, what's it like heading into, I guess, that Sunday matchup to wrap up this weekend of play?
Yeah, they're not really that high on the leaderboard, but they still have some pretty good guys, pretty good shooters and skaters. So we just like to keep it at the top of our game so far. And yeah, we'll expect to do that on Sunday.
Well, this Railer Express squad looking to keep their win streak rolling, 14 wins heading into this weekend. They're hoping, if it all goes well, trying to get to 15 or 16. Sage Delaronde, one of the best goaltenders in this league, a rookie goaltender for the Transcona Railer Express, joining this edition of the MMJHL podcast. Sage, excited to come down to Southdale to call your boys' game on Friday. Best luck to you and the rest of the squad coming into that one.
Thank you.
There we go. Remembered to unmute myself that time around. But yeah, Sage Delaronde joining this edition of the MMJHL podcast. His squad currently 14-1-3, and him being a huge part of that as we take a look at the goaltending leaders here in the MMJHL so far through the games that have been played in the 2024-2025 regular season. Sage with an 8-0-1 record. His goaltending partner in Logan Maroney not making the top 5 exactly. I'm not sure how the website really, determines who gets, further up on the leaderboard if they are tied in wins or not. But as for Logan Maroney, his stats so far this year, as we pull it up, yeah, 6-0 record, only undefeated goaltender remaining in the MMJHL with a 907 save percentage. Sage Delaronde on the year with 2 shutouts for his Railer Express. We also take a look at Nolan Vandenbush as the team captain for the Railer Express, and a guest here on the MMJHL podcast a few weeks ago now, is in a 3-way tie with Bateman and Davis for 5th in points. We'll get a chance to take a look at both Davis and Vandenbush in tonight's matchup, along with, potentially one of 3 of these goaltenders, or 2 of 3 of these goaltenders in tonight's matchup, as, the St. Boniface Riels taking on the Transcona Railer Express tonight at Southdale Community Center. The Railer Express on a 6-game winning streak, while St. Boniface has rattled off their past 2 wins in their past 2 games. We'll take a look at how St. B did it, an 8-1 whooping against the River East Royal Knights on Friday last week, and then finishing off with a closer win, but still a win at the end of the day, 5-3 over the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. As for Transcona heading into tonight's matchup, 10-4 win on Sunday and a 10-0 win on Friday. So this team looking to continue to roll against one of the best defensive teams in the league tonight in the St. Boniface Riels, as we take a look at their goals against numbers, the least amount of goals let up in the league so far this year, as well as a team that doesn't give up many shots to their opponents. outshooting them 40.5 to 24.6 on average. So that one going to be a dandy here tonight. Two teams that play with speed, that can play with grit as well, that move the puck really well, and St. B, by the stats, they have, I guess, a bit of an advantage defensively, really strong goaltending tandem for themselves, but this Transcona Railer Express team is going to be looking to challenge them in every way here tonight. Expect for them to look to get on the forecheck by dumping pucks in and laying the body to create some good energy for themselves, for them to, in what they're hoping to, control this game in the offensive zone against the Real, something that teams have had some trouble with executing on so far this season. But if we take a look at the head-to-head between these two teams heading into tonight, they of course played each other in the first matchup of their season back on September 27th, where Transcona was up 2-0 and ended up not being able to hold on, losing 4-3. But since then, Transcona has not lost a game in regulation. This team has found ways to close out game after game, and last time around they were able to benefit in the another close matchup against the St. Boniface Reals, where Transcona ended up taking it 3-2 back on October 27th. So something's got to give here tonight in terms of one of these teams going to be breaking this current head-to-head, which is the third of 5 games going to be played here tonight between these two teams. We'll be excited to call this one tonight from Southdale Community Center. Puck drops at 7:30 p.m., 7:20 p.m. Shortly after that, we're hoping to get started with our pregame show. But coming up next, we're going to throw it to our Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia commercial for one more time in this episode. And then I'll be back to kind of preview the rest of this weekend of action coming up for all teams in the MMJHL. You're watching the MMJHL podcast here on G Show Productions, brought to you by Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Terracoat Goaltenders, and McCann Fasteners and Tools. More to come after this commercial break. Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia offers the widest selection of sports cards and signed memorabilia in the city. For dedicated casual and new collectors, Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia has everything a collector could ask for. Everything we sell is stored with care, and with help from our knowledgeable team, we'll help you find exactly what you're looking for. We carry Upper Deck hockey card brands like Series 1 and 2, The Cup, Ultimate, SPA, and plenty more. So what are you waiting for? Come down to Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia, Winnipeg's premier sports cards and memorabilia store. And welcome back to this edition of the MMJHL podcast. I'm not going to keep you all any much longer, but going to finish off with talking about, the upcoming games some more here in the MMJHL for the upcoming weekend of action. Teams playing games on Friday and Sunday, as is tradition in this league. We'll get to it right away as we've showed it to you already. That game last night, by the way, ended up being 5-0 for the Fort Garry Twins, if you hadn't heard already in this episode. Both teams getting the night off tonight, as they'll be back in action on Sunday. For the St. Vital Junior Victorias, a game that was pretty much lost for them on the scoreboard. Heading into that third period, things ended up getting ugly in the third, as talked about. Really, you could see the frustration from all the Victorias boiling over, and a team that, of course, has been outscored 9-1 in their past 2 games, following, yesterday up after losing 4-1 to the Charleswood Hawks this past Sunday. Speaking of the Hawks, they'll be back in action tonight, looking to take a win in the head-to-head again between them and the St. James Junior Canucks, as they'll be on the road in Abe McDonald. In terms of the season series between these two teams so far this year, as the last time they played, it was a 5-4 OT victory for the Hawks. That game was played at Eric Coy back in October, as the head-to-head loading right now on the mmjhl's website. But yeah, these two teams have only played each other twice so far this year. Charleswood, their first win of the season in their first game, came against St. James on September 27th, 5-0. For Charleswood, they'll be taking on a red-hot Fort Garry Twins team on Sunday, while St. James will be in action here on the network on G Show Productions on MMJHL Game Day to take on the Riels. As for the Jets, they'll be back in action tonight, going up against the Raiders Junior Hockey Club, who are losers of their last 5 games. Something has to give here for the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. Do they take this game here tonight against the Stonewall Jets that have been doing a lot of winning as of late? That game going to be answered, all those questions, starting at 8 p.m. as puck drops there. As for the two teams that are outside of the playoffs right now, Pembina Valley and River East, last time they played, it was an 8-6 win for the River East Royal Knights. They'll be looking for the same type of result tonight, as Pembina Valley playing some better hockey as of late. In fact, coming away with one of their biggest wins of the season last week, out of what's been a limited supply of wins so far, with a 5-4 victory over the Charleswood Hawks. Also started up 2-0, or up by a score of 2-1 against the Fort Garry Twins last Sunday night, before losing that 7-3. This team looking to get back in the win column, of course, for just the 4th time this season, as they'll be getting a day off on Sunday. The other team that'll get a day off on Sunday as well will be the Raiders Junior Hockey Club. As gonna be an exciting week as always of MMJHL hockey. We can't wait to be a part of it, as we'll be at Southdale twice this weekend coming up. And by the way, if you get a chance to go to Southdale Community Center, be sure to check out some of our posters that are now hanging up in that arena. Look at that. G Show Productions moving up in the world in terms of how we're advertising ourselves, getting our name out. Exciting stuff. More to come from that on the way this season as well. But yeah, this is it for this edition of the MMJHL podcast, everybody. I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth. We're going to have more guests to come for next week's edition of the show from around this great league. Thank you to you, the viewer, for tuning in tonight. Like I said at the start of this episode, if you are new here, or maybe you've seen this podcast a few times, but haven't subscribed, it could be a good time to do that. Is if you do subscribe, not only does it support our channel, but if you turn on notifications, you won't miss any future uploads of this podcast and all of our other content here on the network. Game coming up tonight on gshow.ca, 7:30 p.m. puck drop at Southdale Arena between the Riels and Railer Express. The Riels looking to get back into the win column in this head-to-head here tonight against the Transcona Railer Express. So that should be a dandy. Can't wait to cover it, and can't wait to see Sage Delaronde in action if he is getting the start tonight. Special thanks to him for coming on once again as the guest for this episode, and special thanks to our sponsors, Interico, Make Cannon Fasteners and Tools, Goaltenders, and Can Central Sports Cards and Memorabilia for, of course, continuing to support Manitoba Major Junior Hockey League coverage here on the network, and everything we do here at gshow.ca on G Show Productions. Yeah, that'll do it, everybody, for episode 10, season 2. Next edition of this podcast will be coming out next week on Thursday, most likely. Check out our website as well as our socials to see if there's any changes to when that episode will come out. But until then, I've been your host, Graham, the G Show Forsyth, giving you the salute, peacing out, and waving so long, everybody. Until next week, we'll see you then for an all-new edition of the MMJHL podcast for Season 2, Episode 11. But until then, have a wonderful and safe weekend. Enjoy all the great hockey coming your way. And yeah, take care, everybody. Have a good one.